keen when I'm supposed to start for another 10 minutes. I love it.
You're keen. You're here early.
I know, well, because I got a notification saying Semantics, the band, is trying to join your Zoom. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
I've got I've got pretty bad ADHD anxiety, so I just like to be early for everything.
No, that's fair, mate. I'm in the same boat. Generalized anxiety disorder represent.
Woo!
Love it.
It's a
Uh,
superpower, my man.
I know, right? It definitely does keep you organized. I'll tell you that
Mhm.
much. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I've just got home from work, just had a shower. I'm in Yeronga, Brisbane.
Okay, yep, nice. I'm in Warner.
How about you?
I'm in Warner in the
You're in
north.
Warner.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, your North Sider is the enemy.
I know, right? Awful. Just awful. Now, mate, the cover art for the new album, I feel like it's designed to break a power metal fan's heart. They'll be like, wow, this looks awesome. Put it on. I'm like, what's this?
I
There's no
can't I
dragon
can't
in
wait
this at
for
all.
that to be I can't wait for that to be the response of some people. Um, it's brilliant. I mean, the reason I wanted to do an album cover like that was because growing up I was listening to Bat Out of Hell. My nana got it on CD for me, and I didn't. I was too young to know what metal was when she gave it to me, and no one in my family knows why she got me that CD. She must have just heard that I was getting into rock music, saw that, and got it. But I was super impressionable and like 7, 8 years old, and I was just like, well, I've got this CD and I think it's badass. So Bad Out of Hell has always been like an album that I've loved, and obviously that painting is so metal, and the album is so not. And I've always enjoyed, like since I was 7 years old, I've always enjoyed the humor of that. Um, and I know this is just us doing kind of our Bad Out of Hell, that gimmicky, cheesy, amazing artwork. That's for a not metal album.
It reminds me a bit of, when people discover Alice Cooper, and particularly if they, are really into metal and they hear about this old bloke who used to, put himself in a guillotine and decapitate himself on stage, and they're like, whoa, this guy must be hectic. And they'll listen to Schools Out and they'll be like, what the fuck is this?
I love it. I love it. I love that like juxtaposition, that contrast. It's so funny and it's so enjoyable because I love metal. Like I love the real thing, with the real album artwork and all that stuff, Dio. I love Dio, I love early Def Lab, and then you like go into Thor and all the proper like, deep dive 80s metal. But I think part of the magic of the 80s was loud album covers, and the context against the music wasn't so important. It was just about the visual. At the time, records were so big. That's how you were consuming stuff. So if you wanted to hear new music, the first thing that's going to get your attention was the album cover. And for us, it's like we're a small Australian band. How are we going to get people's attention? How are we going to get people to pay give it any time at all? And it's like, do what they did in the 80s. Make a fucking hectic album cover. Surely that'll get someone's attention.
What instructions did you give the graphic designer?
Uh, Oil painter.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, it's an oil painting.
Ah,
Um, we
awesome.
we commissioned an oil painting from Donato Giancola, who is a Brooklyn painter who's been commissioned to do work for Game of Thrones, Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings. Like he's a proper up there high fantasy painter, which just adds to the whole experience, because like all of those 80s albums had like Frazetta covers, or Boris Vallejo did Ozzy Osbourne or whatever, and Donato is our generation's fine painter fantasy guy. Um, and yeah, I did some sketches and just said, look, we think it'd be really funny if we had a mascot that was called Semantics, who's our knight in shining armor. And we want them crossing a burning bridge triumphantly, vanquishing the foes in their way. And that was all that the brief really was just this idea of, you know, jumping across this burning bridge, as in, that kind of that metaphor, that gimmick of the burning bridge, and being a bit chaotic, a bit destructive, but seeing triumph in it, and being empowered by it. And then from there, it was just make it classic, cheesy, make it look like it could have been done in the 18th century, and go from there. And it was perfect. Like he sent a sketch through, and we were like, okay, looks cool. Then he sent the painting through. We didn't see anything until it was finished, and it was just like mind blowing. It was amazing, so cool.
That would have been a good moment to be a fly on the wall when you guys opened that email. Yeah.
Seriously, I lost my mind. And the coolest thing that he did was he put, so when we started our band, we made a little logo. We had a guy in the States make this little logo of a head with a squiggly arm plucking out a little piece of its brain. And it was this artist's take on the meaning of the word semantics. And Donato has painted that logo into the chest armor.
No.
Like, just so, even though we only own a license to this painting, we know that forever it was our painting. It was made for us, and that little symbol is what makes it ours forever, and that's on the painting.
That's beautiful, man. Awesome.
So it's like it's really ours, and it's really special. So yeah, really love it.
Nice. So, mate, you guys formed in 2017, true? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
how have you seen the kind of Brisbane music scene evolve and change in that time?
it's like it's from where we're sitting. It's like it's done a 360. I feel like it feels the same as it did when we started. A little tougher. When we started, there were so many small venues especially in the valley, that were easy to get a gig at and to get a start in. I remember like some of our first shows being do you remember New Globe Theatre?
No,
It
I
was
don't.
on it was on Brunswick, and it was opposite Crowbar, and it wasn't the best venue, but it was great for, supporting bands who are just getting started. And I guess that's kind of, you know, what like a Greaser or a Tomcat does now, which they weren't on the radar in 2017 so much. So like they picked up where that little place left off. Oh, my wife brought me dinner. Thank you. Um, and then, since we've been playing in a band, we used to play at the Zoo and the Crowbar all the time. Obviously, those are both gone now. Um, but at the same time, I'm going out to local shows and seeing that there is a lot of just grassroots talent, just giving it a red hot go and just doing it for the fun of it. And I don't know if it's just from our experience or what, but everyone's just doing it for the joy of it, and it's not as competitive as it was maybe 4 years ago. And I think the competition was happening in the height of COVID. Everyone was fighting to kind of survive. And I think that's gone away a little bit, which is nice.
I remember, yeah, we were one of the first outlets to break the unfortunate news that the zoo and Stranded were closing. And
Mm,
I remember being absolutely heartbroken. I'd love to say, oh, I've been going there for years. I didn't start going out regularly to shows until after we opened back up from COVID, which is when because I started with Sense, in 2020. But
mm,
I would find myself at the zoo almost every second week. Like there were
yeah,
so many shows on, and as heartbreaking as it was to lose it because it's this fantastic space, I look at I'm a real nostalgia head when it comes to old tours, and I'll look at gig posters from the 90s and early 2000s, and half the venues there don't exist anymore. So, as much as it sucks, I mean, maybe the lifespan, of the best lifespan that, a venue can hope for is something like the zoo, which was like, 30 years or something, and
30
it's,
years is a solid run.
yeah, and that's just the cycle of it. Like, yeah, it sucks that we
Yeah,
lost the zoo, but we're probably going to get some other cool spot opening up. I noticed. Has Soapbox been around? Because I've only just started hearing that name in the last. In the
So
last.
you'll remember Dennis from Crowbar.
Yeah.
Um, he has been working really hard with the Soapbox team to turn it into a venue.
Hmm.
Um, and so this year it's just kind of been quietly creeping up and putting on some really cool shows, mostly focusing on metal at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously moving into other genres. They also have backpacker nights up there and things like that. So it's all kind of running on the down low until they kind of finalize their plan, I think. But it's a seriously good room. It's a seriously good venue with serious potential. So we're really, really stoked that we're going to be playing there, because it's I've been there a few times now, and it almost has a bit of a zoo vibe to it. Like it's got that nice big timber floor, nice big high ceiling, big live room, can fit a lot of people in there. Great stage built by Juddy. It's just it's awesome. So I can see some really good things happening there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. So, mate, how has life changed for the band since Paint Me Blue came out? Like, what have been the best parts, and maybe what have been some of the biggest challenges?
Well, when we put the first album out, I think it was during like a really chaotic period in pretty much everyone's lives. Maddie, our bass player, her mum died. Um, I got married. One of our members, left the band. There were job changes. There were all kinds of things happening, and all this motion and all this movement made the campaign for the first album fall to the wayside right at the time where we needed to be working on it the hardest. And we really shot ourselves in the foot there, obviously not willingly. It was kind of, the control was taken away from us just circumstantially. So those are the lows. But since that's all happened, we've all felt like we wanted to take our time, prepare, get all of our lives in order before we made this album, and just make up for the missed opportunities, the first time around. And we owe it to our label, we owe it to our fans, we owe it to everyone that supports us to put our best foot forward and like really put the effort in. And that's turned into a really nice thing, because instead of sounding like a stressful thing, it's actually been making the whole process really enjoyable, and it feels like it's all really got purpose. So in the 2 years since the first album came out, we've just enjoyed our time together as friends, and with our families, and enjoyed and focused on enjoying making music. And that's been the past 2 years, and that's been awesome.
Mhm. Yeah. I just realized as we've been talking, who's the artist in the house? Is that you? I just noticed the canvas and all these paintbrushes and everything behind you.
Yeah, I'm mucking around with paints a little bit.
Nice. Ah, good
Uh,
man.
I'm not like good at it, but I'm just kind of like, when I get the day off, I like to have a go at it, have some fun.
Ah, good man. Don't feel like you need to be good at it. I suck at painting and I do it all the time. Like,
Dude, right? Painting's great like that, because you don't have to show anyone your paintings. You can just do them, and then if you don't like it, go over it and do another one.
it's amazing. There's a Silly Solly's does it's one of those $5 shops and they sell paint canvases. So I will literally go down there and just get like a stack of like, I'll spend $40 or something and walk out with an armload of blank
Yeah,
canvases. So like, yeah, man.
dude, awesome. What kind of
Feels-
paintings do you do?
I do a lot of abstract stuff. Yeah, like I said, I'm very good with textures and stuff, and I like to incorporate that into like paintings that I've done into Photoshop and stuff, and fuck around with it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, man, I'll follow you guys on my personal account. You can see some of my stuff. Yeah,
Please,
I,
yeah,
I,
that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that.
yeah, I feel like having just we've just been talking about a world class oil painter. I'd like to lower your expectations significantly when
Hey, it's all right. I'm an amateur too. Here, I'll show you one that I did.
yeah, do
All
it.
right. This is one of the first oil paintings I ever made, and it's just like a
Oh, look out.
spooky Grim Reaper kind of vibe.
I love the blending of that background texture, man. That looks hectic.
Yeah, the fog was the thing I had the most fun with, and like getting
Yeah,
a little bit of it across his cloak. I don't know if you can really see it, but
yeah.
I yeah, had a really good time doing that. So like, and it's just a hobby, man. Like rock and roll is the real thing for me. But who doesn't love just dicking around with a paintbrush and hanging out at home for a day? It's the best.
Well, 100%. I mean, that's ink, ink and water,
Yeah, I love
and
that inking.
all sorts of fun stuff. So, oh, and one fun one that people will have been seeing in the background for ages. Ah, oh, dusty. That is daubs of paint put up there and then dragged down with a scraper, and I've then got vinyl peel off vinyl letters and put it inside the design. So it says down for
That's wicked.
yeah. So
That's got a very Jane Doe Converge kind of
yes, yes,
vibe, you
fucking
know.
love Jacob's graphic design skills, man. He's just yeah.
Yeah,
Between
wicked
them
cool.
and Nine
He
Inch
did the
Nails.
Norma Jean album covers, didn't he?
I believe so. I'm not
The
terribly
the
familiar with
Wrongdoers
Northern
cover. I'm pretty sure that was the same artist.
but yeah, he's done all of Converge's stuff and he does all of their
Mm,
merch. So absolute ninja with screen printing and stuff like that. Is
yeah, yeah,
did you see
wicked style.
the Jane Doe model?
No.
Stuck her head up about 2 years ago, I believe it was after COVID, because he based it off an image. He based the Jane Doe face off a model's photo from like some fashion magazine, and
Mm.
she found out about it 2 years ago and was like, "Hi, Converge, it's Jane Doe here," and they're like, "I don't know what with it. I'm hoping that they, threw a bit of money or something, but you know." It raises an interesting question though. Like, yeah, it's your image, but like someone did a painting of it, like by that extent, pardon me, this is going to be like a really just bizarrely tangential, example, but like, does that mean that Donald Trump should get money from every time someone does a political cartoon of him? Like, where does that end? Like, I know he's a public figure and not a private citizen, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, how does
yeah.
that, I don't know.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's always. I know that there's definitely laws to do with um, people claiming ownership to a photo, and then obviously there's a nice gray area where photo manipulation comes into play.
Hmm.
Because if you're just reproducing a photo bang on from what it was, then yeah, it's a copy, and you've stolen someone's photo, you've stolen a model's portfolio, blah blah blah. If you haven't licensed it, but photo manipulation, to an extent, like could you imagine how many black metal artists would go to jail for all the shit that they've stolen off Google search and just put under a fucking
Yeah.
photocopier? But like the photo manipulation is what it implies that there's a creative intent. They're not just copying the original piece. They're actually doing something with it. The AI rabbit hole, that's a different conversation because
Yeah.
all of that is theft to me. Like I hate all of that. But in the way of taking inspiration and manipulating imagery, there's a gray area.
Mm.
There's a grace.
And I'd rather that black metal bands, stole things from people because otherwise they go out into the Norwegian woods and get lost while trying to do, band photos, and it's just terrible.
Yeah, or they start setting things on fire and people get hurt, and it's just like, come on, black
Heads
metal
off.
guys, take it easy.
I know, right? Settle down, mayhem. So, wow, that was a tangent. So, mate, the process of creating, I feel it all at once. Oh, why did I struggle with that? What came easiest and what came hardest?
Music came easily,
Mhm.
the instruments. The lyrics were the hardest part. and committing to which recording we were going to send off for mixing was hard as well. So making the arrangements and hanging out and talking about the vibe of each song, that was easy for us. We knew how every song wanted to feel. We knew what we were kind of like communicating musically, but lyrically getting it to match and getting it to be like, I'm pretty picky with lyrics, and there's a level of simple conversational stuff that still has to be abstract and profound enough to take a double meaning or be translatable to someone who doesn't, for example, live in Brisbane. They still have to understand what I'm talking about. So I can localize a topic, but I have to make sure that it still transcends geography and makes sense to someone who doesn't live in my locale and just is experiencing my Brisbane in their fucking Florida or wherever, you know?
There was a great line that you used in there somewhere. I forget which song it was, where it was about like, I have my favorite jacket, but I don't get to wear it much in Queensland.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, yeah, like that's Brown Snake Blues, you know, which is like the name is saying, you know, like Brown Snake, that's Brisbane, and got the blues. So I'm having a hard time in Brisbane. And yeah, like, you know, you might have a really nice jacket and it's too hot to wear one here. But, you know, if I fucked off to England, I'm sure I get to wear it all the time.
Hmm.
You know, and so like that's a lyric where it's like it's simple, but you know, to me there's a lot of meaning in it. And there's a lot of kind of uh intent and kind of prose in it that means something and should hopefully make sense to people on a more emotional level than it does a literal level.
Hmm. The video for Calico is quite charming and it reminded me a lot of my life in my early 20s. What was
Yeah.
it like to make?
It was a struggle. It was tough. That was a hard video to make. It was like one of those days where we had everything planned, and then a lot of the plans started to kind of fall through on the day, and so the concept kept changing. And so we went to the cafe in Annalee and did the scene of Maddie and Zach sitting on the couch playing with my ancient Xbox 360, and that was all fun. There's cats running around the place, and you know that's all. That was the easy part, and then in the afternoon we built a green screen studio in my recording studio, and we like just pulled out whatever we could to make props. So I think Mitch was using like a symbol for a shield. I have a sword Excalibur replica in the studio mounted on the wall. So I was like, yeah, we'll get the sword out. My wife's dressing gown was in there for some reason. So I put that on. There was a bucket hat somewhere. So we put that. It was just like it was a bitzer. It was a chaotic day. But our videographer Harley, he did a great job putting it all together and turning it into a cool lo-fi 8-bit Street Fighter-y kind of vibe. So yeah, it was wicked fun, and the result was awesome.
Nice. Did you turn a lot of heads having a bloke walk through a bottle in knight's armor for the love language video?
Yeah, I I worked in that bottle which is kind of like how I, you know, managed to kind of twist the manager's arm into letting us bring a knight in silver armor into a fucking bottle shop. Um, but it was great because it was over in Norman Park, and the community there is so friendly and inquisitive. And it happened to be a day, it must have been school holidays, and all the kids were just losing their minds hanging out with this knight, and they'd never seen anything like it. They thought it was so funny. It was a blast, and yeah, the community was having a really, really good time with it as well. It was heaps of fun.
Nice. Mate, lastly, what are your touring essentials? What should a band never hit the road without?
Hummus and carrots,
That is not wrong.
hummus and carrots in a little esky. Um, because you get snacky on the road and it's really easy to start eating junk food, spending way too much money at servo stops and things like that. We found that if we get a blender and about like 2 kilos of chickpeas and a little bit of garlic and, you know, all the essentials and make a nice hummus, make one big enough, put it in the esky, you can get a solid week out of that type of hummus on the road with chip and dip, and it'll keep you going on those long drives. So that's an absolute essential. Um, Beyond that, you know, for the passengers, it's neck pillows for sleeping in the van, and for the driver, it's maybe no-dos, but I'm not going to endorse that. I'm just putting it out there. It's a
Meth.
long trip from A to B in Australia.
Just nothing but
Yeah,
meth. Yeah.
meth. I mean, yeah. Look, if you got to stop in Logan, then you know, easy. Just pick up on your way down. Um, but no, hummus and neck pillows. I think those are the things that whenever we forget them. Oh, and towels. Bring your own towel.
Mm.
Because your friends will put you up, and then they'll be stoked to have you, and they won't have cleaned any towels, or they don't have any in their house, and you're like, cool. Well, I guess we're all just gonna shake the water off in, you know, subarctic fucking temperatures. The towels.
I love it. Callum, this has been rad, man. Thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
I'll give you a follow on my Instagram, and we'll chat.
Yeah, man. I would love to have you at the show in November. If you'd like to come along, I'd be happy to put you on the door and come check it out.
Easy, man. Sounds good. All right, man.
Wicked, bro.
Have
Good
a
to
good
meet
day.
you.
Yeah.
See
Bye.
ya.